folks, here we go. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston, and What's Working is brought to you by Regions. This is the Tuesday-Thursday special COVID edition. Our focus, keeping you and small business going in the times of the COVID crisis. Now, as I headed to the station today, the road was full. Airport Boulevard was back to the way I remember it being, and that's not a good thing, if you ask me. It was so nice to be able to head here and hardly have to touch the brakes, but those days are over. However, reading the headlines like I do each morning, businesses are nearly stopped. The economy is nearly at a halt. So I don't know where these folks are going on Airport Boulevard right now. They're going, hopefully, to loosen their wallets, spend their money elsewhere, which brings me to the focus of this show. Just so many small business owners out there, just like me, struggling to make ends meet. I'm happy to say I'm seeing a little bit of activity in my own business. Everybody asking about virtual seminars right now, and I'm investing a lot of time and money in this virtual technology to broadcast me through different places, and there's a lot I need to learn. The learning curve is steep, but it's the only way for me to stay in the work that I do. So many of you are struggling with the same thing, and I've got a couple of guests here that are going to help us out. First, Trey Hazard. Trey Hazard will be speaking to us from the East Coast of Florida. You'll notice by his accent, and I'm not going to give it away, that he's not from round here, and he's from much further south. But his focus is a fear focus, how not to go into your business right now with a fear focus. He has a couple of radio shows and television shows, and we're going to let him run with it for a little while, prodding him to help small businesses and how not to allow fear to be your focus right now in your business. Coming out of Trey Hazard, I'm going to have an old guest back on, as well as his partner, who I have yet to meet. This is Jeff Zeiders and Dave Imber. They're with CigarClub.com. I am a member of CigarClub.com. I'm a subscriber to CigarClub.com. I think I've had 3 or 4 of my friends subscribe due to me promoting it. I've had Jeff on the show before in the Wednesday evening show, and I have to compliment him. He manages his inventory very well and never once has offered me a cigar from his personal stash from all this free promotion. So this will be the end of that line for Jeff and Dave. Kidding, Jeff. Kidding, Dave. They have picked up some new tactics in the time of COVID to keep their customers engaged. They also made a very interesting trip recently to Nicaragua for some new product that they're using this time to go explore and promote. And I want to hear their ideas, not only what they did. I think there's some great stories in there. When you're escorted around a country with a man with an AK-47, you don't forget that very quickly. But there's going to be some stories and some things that we can learn to promote our own business during the time of COVID. And interestingly enough, with the sheriff on just the previous hour, we're going to close out today with Trey Oliver. He's the warden at the Metro Jail. And I am told through the rumor mill, a great guy and a very inspirational guy. Who wouldn't want their inspiration coming from the jail warden? So we'll have him to close it out. Don't forget, 1:52 p.m.-ish, we're going to recap the show. I have a pen and paper with me, and I take notes as I go through each of these conversations. And the most interesting and useful points I will recap towards about 1:52, and then we'll put Trey Oliver on. Now, if you've got an open calendar tomorrow night at 6 p.m., that's the Wednesday evening show. I've got John Callagaz scheduled with Fishing Chaos. And folks, if you didn't think data could be utilized fishing, just wait. When I spent time on the phone with John talking about what it is they were doing to revolutionize the fishing business. Now, if you're a tournament fisherman, you realize that I am late to the game. And I admit that. I am late to the game. I didn't know this was going on. But my goodness, when I heard what they were doing with the data they're collecting and how they're changing the landscape for sport fishermen like me, the only thing I could think was, be still my heart. And it is absolutely amazing. Last, before we go to break, I want to welcome Jim Mitchell and his company, Signorama, to the sponsorship lineup. Jim, thank you very much for your business. We look forward to working with you. When we come back, we'll have Trey Hazard, and you're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston, brought to you by Regions. We'll be right back. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. What's Working is brought to you by Regions. And on the line, our first guest of the hour. This is Troy Hazard. Troy has a cable TV talk show in the USA called Getting Down to Business on the Biz TV cable network. It's broadcast into 30 million homes each week. Not bad, Troy. And the Big Biz Show on CBS Talk Radio that has 1.5 million radio listeners. Troy, undoubtedly the pinnacle of your career begins right now. Thank you for your time. Welcome to What's Working.
Thanks so much for inviting me.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Now, I know I'm speaking to you in Fort Lauderdale, but your accent is not South Alabama nor Fort Lauderdale. You come from further south than that. Go ahead and tell the folks where your birthplace is.
Yeah, look, yes, I came from Australia in 2008. We actually moved to America in the middle of the GFC deliberately.
Oh, yeah?
Everyone thought we were crazy, but there was an opportunities there. There's always an opportunity and an obstacle, and so our intent was to come here when things were clearly a little bit topsy-turvy.
Yep.
And our strategy actually worked out for us, fortunately, because we did find a number of opportunities here through that time, and we were well prepared to take advantage of that. And I think there's a little bit of the same sort of thing happening right now. Everyone's in the same sort of space where we're wondering what's next, and a lot of businesses have been closed down or have at least only been working partially over the last few months, and that's what creates opportunity as much as it does create fear.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that fear focus in business. The fear, I know it's limiting. It's about what can't happen versus what can. Define that for me so that we can talk about how to get around it.
Well, the hard part is you wake up every day, you turn on the media, television, radio, read a paper, read an article online or whatever, and you're already putting your mindset into that space of what's next. And you go into that fear mode, fear of your future, fear for your family, fear for your health, fear for your finances. And it kind of sets that precedent for the rest of the day. So it's about really, for me anyway, it's about waking up with an intention of trying to learn something, an intention of trying to be better today than I was yesterday, and an intention of working or trying to navigate my way through this, and then turn the news on, and then start looking at and listening to the media. Because if you've got the right start to that frame of mind, then the information you tend to absorb leads itself to opportunities for you as opposed to obstacles.
So you're setting your filter the beginning of the day as an opportunity filter. And from that point, the news, regardless of what they're saying, is presented as an opportunity to you. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've owned 13 different companies over the last 30 years. And with each of those companies, we've either bought them in a time of crisis or we've bought them in a time of inflection where the business has been going okay, but the owner couldn't get them to the next level. Now, right now, we have a lot of small businesses that unfortunately are in that crisis mode, or they are going to find a tough time to find the next point of inflection. So if I'm looking at media or sifting my way through news or looking at different sectors of industries here at the moment, I'm looking to see how I could maybe navigate a business or an opportunity better with a different frame of mind or a different perspective. Because if I'm in the restaurant industry right now, I'm getting absolutely hammered.
Yeah.
And my day job as a professional speaker, also absolutely hammered. So where is the opportunity in that obstacle, and how can I find my way through that obstacle faster than my competitors? If I wake up with that mindset, I've got a much better chance of finding a solution than waking up with I wonder what's going to happen today, when can I go back to work?
So one of the points that you sent me in advance of this conversation is, what can we learn from the past to apply it to the present to carry us through? Elaborate on that for me, please.
Well, this is my fifth economic correction that I've lived through. And not all of them of those have been health. I lost $250,000 in the 87 correction in the markets. We lost about $1 million in the Asian financial crisis in 96, 97. Then we started to learn. So I looked at what was happening coming into the technology boom, and we knew there was a bubble coming, so we started to do some research and prepare for it. And we bought into technology after the tech wreck of 2001 because of the mistakes I'd learned in 87 and 97. So it was learn from the past, apply it to the present to protect the future. And then going into the GFC, with the housing boom and everything that was going on at the time, it was obvious after having two failures to try and work out how to navigate that. And that's was the reason we moved to America, because we figured there'd be great opportunity here and a much bigger market for us to play in. So that also worked very well for us. So we essentially we're preparing for the GFC in 2006 when everyone else was going nuts and enjoying that free ride.
Yeah.
I think that's the key to it. Learn from the past, apply to the present, and protect your future.
So there are certainly lessons in my own past that I know, but I'm not aware of, if that makes any sense. Decisions that I could make today drawing from my past. How do you mine your experiences to say this is a lesson that I need to adhere to right now?
As humans, we forget quickly. You know, so many people came out of the GFC, by way of example, and by 2011, 2012, they're going, oh, thank heavens that's over. I'm so glad I'm never going to find myself in that position again. Well, here you are.
Yeah.
This time it's health-driven, but it's still got the same financial impact on your business, potentially. And so what can you draw from the lessons you had in 2008, 2009, 2010 as you were dragging your way out of that hole? Because they will be similar. And the activities that you undertake will be very, very similar to what you may have done back then. And so that will affect your decisions, of course.
So give me an example of something you've begun in the last 6 or 7 weeks that is a lesson from the past that you have begun today that show it, that would be example for all of us to learn from your own experience.
So here's something that probably could work if you're a business owner or just trying to manage your own personal finances right now. What we learned from our first two poor decisions in a correction was that we'd go into them with a budget, with a forecast, with a cash flow plan for the business, and that's what we felt we were going to achieve for the year. But we never had a triangulation of data that surrounded that. So what we do now is I have budget, forecast, and plan for the year, which you could do if you're doing your home finances as well. We have the what if something goes wrong in the next 120 days, how would we correct? How would we get ourselves back on track? And then we have the third plan, which is Armageddon. And right now we're somewhere between 120 days what if and Armageddon.
Yeah.
But if I hadn't put those three plans in place through the last couple of corrections we've lived through, then I probably wouldn't have made it through. Because when you triangulate the data from those three plans, you find a place to operate. And this applies to you personally as it does professionally or in your small business. You've got to have that extra buffer. And if you look at some of the statistics, 64% of Americans would struggle to pay more than $1,000 in unprecedented or unfactored bills. Now, you can't operate there because something will go wrong, and you need to have a fallback position to help you manage your way out of that. But because we forget, when things are good, we kind of rise to that level of life, and the oxygen is just as thin on the top of the mountain as it is at the bottom.
Yeah.
And we forget that.
That's good. I like that. Now, you sent me a document, 6 steps to help you lead your business from crisis to calm. Step number 1, the trend is your friend.
Yes. What I do every day is try and find news or information or data from 3 different sources: the left, the right, and the middle. Because somewhere in the middle of that, you're going to find not necessarily the truth, but something that's closer to the truth or closer to a place for you to make some conscious decisions where you're not being swayed by fear or greed or something that you can't control, and you are focused on the things you can control. So by triangulating that data, I can pick a trend and try and work out what's going to happen next. Like, by way of example, right now we know that the country is starting to open up. How quickly do you reckon that's going to happen? And what can you do right now to prepare yourself for when that happens in a week or so? And a classic example I was talking to a friend of mine this morning was we have 5 or 6 restaurants in our area here that we go to regularly. I haven't heard from a single one of them. I don't know what their plans are to reopen. I don't know how they're going to operate when they reopen. So because I've not heard from them, they're not creating consumer confidence in my patronage of their establishments. They're simply waiting until someone says you can turn the lights on, go back to work. If they were trying to pick the trend, they'd be one step ahead of that, and they'd be talking to me and so many other people that are regulars and saying, hey, Troy, here's how we're going to work. Here's what we're going to do, make sure you and your family are safe. Love to see you back here. We'll be back on, the lights will be open, and we'll be trading from Saturday.
Yeah.
That's the sort of stuff that will help you get ahead of it if you're trying to work out in your own little world, your own sector, your own industry, or even your own family, what that trend might look like for you in a week or a month even.
Yeah. I'm seeing that. You mentioned restaurants. I'm seeing that in my neck of the woods here in South Alabama. The restaurants that we frequent, mostly on social media, are trying to get out there and say, we think we'll be taking reservations on this date, and create awareness in the minds that once they release us, we're going back to business. We're going to have to distance in each of the restaurants, but we're going back to business. And I, in fact, had a group make a reservation for Saturday night last week in the hopes that everything would be normal as a result of this restaurant promoting itself as we're hoping to be open. So there are folks that are doing stuff out there like that, but I can see the harm in not communicating that, particularly with your best customers. Now, point number two, create your marketing campaigns now.
The best way to create consumer confidence is to tell me what you're about to do, because then I can start getting my head around how that works with my family, with my habits and behaviors that have changed over the last 2 months, with our finances that we've got available to different things that we are used to doing, because everyone's had a bit of a hit during this. So I have a limited discretionary or disposable income. Am I going to spend it at your restaurant, or am I going to spend it somewhere else? Am I going to do something else that gets me out of the house and back into a normal life? If you've not talked to me about that, then I'm going to go to the person who's making the most noise. The second part of it that makes it even more important is if you're talking like that to your staff, to your team members, you're promoting an air of confidence in them that things will go back to normal, they will have a job, and they will get back to what they used to understand the business would do for them in their lives before this all happened. If we wait until the last minute, then someone's going to be making more noise than you are, and you're probably going to get left behind.
I think that's interesting. Tell them what you're about to do, not what you're doing now or have done, but what you're about to do. And I think that, we used the restaurant as an example a moment ago, but this works to business as well, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely, because we've just bought the kids' bikes just before this all happened, with a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old. So they've been going around our property just learning how to ride their bikes. I want to know what we can do with that when the parks open up, when the playgrounds open up, and we can get them out riding further than the front yard. And if someone can tell me how they can make that happen for me, and I can pick up on that, that's the first thing I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And if we get that head start on it, people start making plans today, even though they're still in lockdown, even though they're still sheltered home or stay at home. They can start working out what they're going to do next Wednesday, next Friday, the week after, because they need to make those sort of plans to make themselves feel good.
I love it. And my mind is spinning right now with things that I can do with my own business. All right, we're going to jump forward to item number 6 now. So in order to stay on time, we got about a minute. Rhythm and routine. Sure. Elaborate on that one, if you would.
We've been disrupted as humans all over the world. Our routine of getting up, going to work, taking the kids to school, whatever, has been disrupted. The best way to go out of the chaos and into the calm is to create that rhythm and routine in your life, even if it's a different rhythm and routine. So even in our house, while I've been working from home and my speaking engagements have been cancelled for the next 3 or 4 months, we've found a new routine with the kids, a new routine with our life, a new routine as to how we can create income or generate some sort of stimulus in the family and look towards the future with a different habit and behaviour, with a different perspective, but at least we've got routine to that. And if you look at your family, and particularly kids, if they've got routine, they're going to be a lot happier than not being able to do the things that they can't do and not knowing why.
Isn't it amazing how much we rely on routine? I find that, and it's everywhere. When I travel, I enjoy stepping aside from the routine just to do something different when I'm on the road. But I love my routine when I get back home. I know it's there waiting for me. The routine and the step away from the routine are both as valuable. And part of that routine, I really enjoyed what you said earlier, is to begin your day the right way. Think about things and then filter the news as opportunity versus fear.
Yep. And look, we have some simple things in our house to make that happen. I have a saying that we build our business around the beach, not the beach around the business. So the routine is that the family's first. And the second simple thing we have is when I come up with a new idea or an opportunity, my wife simply turns to me and says, is it worth a sandcastle? Is it worth taking you off the beach building sandcastles with the kids? If it is, then great, let's do it. If it's not, go back to the beach.
Love it. I love it. Troy, how can people find more about you?
Just TroyHazard.com. There's a bunch of videos and white papers and stuff on the site. It's all free.
Yeah,
so if they'd like to learn more or get some more theory like we've been talking about for the last 10 minutes, then it's all there.
Can I send this 6-item thing out to my listeners?
Sure.
All right, folks.
Absolutely.
Text What's Working to 44222. We're going to a break. Troy, thank you so much. You're listening to What's Working, brought to you by Region. We'll be right back. You're listening to What's Working. On the phone is Dave, Imber, and Jeff Zeiders with CigarClub.com, one of the world's greatest subscription services that I've ever been a part of. I can't say enough about it. Dave and Jeff, thank you for your time. Jeff, welcome back to What's Working.
Cam, thank you so much. It is great to be here.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm a big fan of the product that you've done, the idea, the concept, the monthly cigars. I like to say a cigar a day keeps the COVID away, and my wife says you'll have to find a new place to live if you embrace that too much. Love what it is that you're doing. But you and I, Jeff, bumped into each other not long ago, talked a little bit about the new things you're doing during the time of COVID to keep your customers happy. Tell us a little bit more about how this change has impacted your subscription service. You know what? Stop. Tell us first about your service. I think it's fantastic. Let's start at the top.
Perfect, Cam. Thank you.
Yeah.
So we are CigarClub.com, and basically what we do is we provide a curated monthly service where you come in through our site. There's a quick quiz that you take. You basically tell us what are your favorite wines, favorite spirits, favorite types of food. And then we have a process where we can pair cigars with your taste palette.
Yeah.
And so each month you get in your mailbox a curated set of cigars that were picked just for you. We launched this about 4 years ago. It's been a really fun process. We've grown very well, and I'm just very excited about where we are. And one of the unique things about our customers is that it turns out that in times of unknown or in times of boredom when you can't leave your house, it seems to be that there is no better cure, as you said, maybe not to fix the actual virus, but to fix the mental stress than a nice little break on the back patio with a great cigar. So it's been a really interesting 6 to 8 weeks for us. We've seen some great growth, but we've also found ways to get really creative to ensure that we're offering something that people love.
Talk to me about the creative. Where have the ideas come from? Why have you felt the need to do them? Even though you've seen growth, it sounds like you could have just sat tight, yet you've become creative. What have you done?
Hey, Dave, do you want to take that one?
Yeah. Hey, Cam, Dave here. So basically, a lot that we've done, and this has been kind of a team effort, which is really cool of us. Being a small team, we're able to stay nimble, which I think is really key for any creatives out there, any marketing departments, is the ability to have an idea, put a plan together, and hit go in a really short amount of time, which we've been able to do here at Cigar Club. A couple of things we did, we launched early on in March, we launched a prepay event, which basically we have members that subscribe and you pay monthly, right? Every month you get billed and then your shipment goes out. We launched this prepay where you could pre-order a 3 month, 6 months, or a full year worth of shipments at a discounted rate. That allowed us to really lock in members in more of a long-term fashion right at the beginning of all this, where we didn't really know which way it was going to swing. We were able to lock people in and really gather a lot more information on people's buying habits through that as well, which hopefully will become more of a frequent or annual thing that we do. That was one of the first things we launched that was really successful. About 4 or 5 weeks ago, we launched quarantine kits on our website at Cigar Club, and we basically took our team's favorite cigars over the past couple months and put together a selection of 15 of them in a really cool gift item or accessory like torch lighters, ashtrays, humidity packs for your humidor, and we bundled it all into a shipment every 2 weeks for 5 weeks. We're like, we saw a lot of people wanting more and more cigars during this time. So we're like, how do we give them more? Let's take advantage of that. Let's give people, what they want. So we took our favorite cigars, and every 2 weeks now we've been shipping out cigars and accessories to a large portion of our members that ended up signing up for that.
And
then lastly,
go ahead. I want to hear the last one.
All right. Lastly, actually, there's two, but we can kind of combine them. Lastly, we've really harnessed our influencer network of YouTube reviewers and Instagrammers who are big fans of our brand and our product and have a following of cigar lovers and aficionados. We found ways to get them more involved than ever. People are watching and absorbing so much content. So aside from just doing our normal blogs and our social media posting, we've been engaging with more influencers than we ever have, sending them products, sending them new releases, getting them excited about what we're doing so they can share it with their fan base. And part of what we're doing that keeps things fresh and exciting is new releases. We actually just launched our first ever blend through a brand we have called Cigar Club Customs. We went down, me and Jeff, to Esteli, Nicaragua, and blended several cigars. And we did a pre-order for those that was probably 3 weeks ago now that we launched that pre-order where you could get our first ever cigar blend. We made a super limited amount of them and told a really great story of cigar makers in Esteli. And that has done really well and it's been well received by our cigar club.
Yeah. So I love it that you used YouTubers and Instagram influencers. I noticed that a category missing is radio show hosts. And I just wanted to point out that void, particularly radio show hosts who have had you on several times and have encouraged their own friends to sign up. I think your cell signal's breaking up. I'm not so sure how much longer we're all going to be able to keep you online. If just ask you to review your own business plan. I've a certain part of me that's chafed right now, but I'm going to look beyond that. I want to hear, did you choose to do these things, or did you feel you had to stay afloat considering the economic crisis that was about?
It's I think two things. The first is the sad reality that our colleagues that run brick and mortar shops, they can't be open, and so our customers, while they enjoyed the curation aspect of what we do, they just had more demand than our sort of day-to-day system offered. So we saw that as a need that really just had to be filled, and so we thought about how best to do that. We didn't want to just become a cigar shop where you could just go and browse. We still wanted to maintain that sense of curation, but to offer higher volumes, offer more frequent options. These were things that we felt were needed to support our customers who just couldn't go out to their local shop and browse and pick what they wanted. So for us on the sort of business side, it was more of it was a way to address a growing need that we saw from our local customers. So
the cigar shopper who likes to go to their local humidor, and I love walking into a good humidor and looking around. I think it's so much fun. Sure. Is now restricted to home. The humidor is perhaps closed, but the demand had not decreased, and you jumped in to fill that demand.
That's exactly right. We have customers who really thrive and enjoy the process of discovering new brands, new blends, new sizes, and so our system, while not really set up to be a volume shop, had the backbone, had the system in place where we just had to turn a dial, rethink how to ship things, rethink how to package things. And Dave and myself and our team really just put together, probably in the course of the first 1 or 2 weeks when we realized that this was going to be something serious, we basically built a plan and have been putting that into place. And this thing is far from over, so we're still thinking about what the summer looks like, how our needs going to change, and how can we best serve our customers and serve those needs that are right now being unmet.
Yeah. Well, if you want to adopt a cigar a day keeps the COVID away, I welcome you to it. There's a price in there. A cigar a week keeps the COVID on its knees. How about that one? You can adopt that one as well. Our negotiation will begin very soon as this call or the air segment is over on this, because I was a great advocate of yours until very recently, and learning that I'm not an influencer. But I want to hear.
I'm Dave for that, Cam.
Yeah. Dave and I will bump into each other, and I got a sharp pencil in my pocket, and I'll just take a shot at him. I want to hear about Nicaragua.
Cam, Well, Cam, I do have some good news, which should make you feel better. We did make a discount code just for you. It's working 20, and that gets any listener 20% off of their first shipment. So hopefully that makes you feel slightly better.
Working 20. I'm going to double check
20.
that. Yeah. All right. Good. There we go. I'm going to, folks, text what's working to 44222, and I'll recap this, but it's easy enough. Working 20 at cigarclub.com. I am a big fan. So we got a minute. This is not a fair question for a minute. Nicaragua. Cooler than you thought? Less cool than you thought? Did you feel safe the whole time? Was it all about cigars? Tell me quickly. 35 seconds now.
They felt safe. Cooler than I think we both thought. It was 100% all about cigars from when you land in Nicaragua and your driver picks you up with a cigar in his hand, hands it to you to light on the 2-hour drive to Esteli. We toured factories and fields. We literally sat and blended and rolled cigars with a team of insanely talented master blenders. Went into aging rooms and really got to see the whole process.
Love it.
And part of our 2020 plan is releasing more and more cigars for our members. So
Jeff,
we had an amazing time.
Jeff Zeiders, Dave Imber, Dave, two of my almost favorite people. That could change. You're listening to What's Working with Cam Marston, brought to you by Regions. Jeff and Dave, thank you so much. We'll be back after this break, folks. The wounds have healed. I'm back. I've stopped weeping. I've stopped feeling like I was insignificant, and we're on it back. We're gonna do just fine. Let's recap. This is the 1:52 p.m. promises the recap. First, Troy Hazard, I'll get it right here eventually, out of Fort Lauderdale, originally out of Australia, says 3 things that we talked to him about. Future focus. First, follow the trends. Set your mind right in the morning, and then get the news, and the news becomes opportunities, not fear. I loved that. Second, follow the trends. Look for the left, look to the right, find the middle, and understand what they're saying. Third, tell me what you're about to do. I love that as well. I need to communicate with my customers to tell them what I'm about to do. And I've got a number of things personally on the business agenda that are new, and I need to be communicating with them to say, here's what I'm about to get into, customers, so that you'll know it when you see it. And finally, rhythm and reaction. Rhythm and routine. I can't read my own writing. Rhythm and routine. Develop a rhythm and routine. Get used to that rhythm and routine. It's a new one. Embrace the new one. Next, here's what you need to know about cigarclub.com. Working 20. And this, incidentally, is a discount that you'll get if you sign up to cigarclub.com. It has nothing to do with anything I'll get, which I'm getting used to. Cigarclub.com, Working 20 will give you a discount on your first order. They foresaw a new behavior out of their customers. Actually, is a lack of behavior, an inability to get to the humidor, the local humidor, the citywide humidor, whatever it may be, and they projected a demand, and that demand indeed surfaced, and they are filling that demand. They're also getting people to buy in early, to make commitments at a lower price for the year ahead, which is locked in customers down the road. Had a fun time with those two guys. I look forward to talking to them again. Now, one that I have to say that I never thought we would have as the closing segment of the show is the warden at the Mobile Metro Jail. Yet here I have Trey Oliver. Trey, thank you for your time. Welcome to What's Working.
My pleasure. Glad to be on, Cam.
When I was told about you from a friend, they said, you got to know this guy. He's fantastic. He's inspirational. He's the warden at the jail. I said, say that again. And sure enough, it's a non-traditional guest that I've had in this segment. However, I also want to point out that you have an art gallery downtown as well.
Yeah, of all times for me to venture off into the private sector, I went in to open a small business, and about 6 months later, everything shuts down. So timing's everything. Yeah,
no kidding. But again, it's not exactly what we would expect, at least what I would expect out of somebody with your title. You've been 16 years, you served 16 years as chief of police, 6 years Mobile Police Department, a background in the Coast Guard, public safety since 1975. You're deep into the public safety world, but you've got an inspirational message for people like myself, people like me who are listening, that are trying to look forward, trying to get excited about what's ahead. And I'm going to turn the mic over to you, man.
Well, first of all, a few years ago, I noticed that I felt sort of burned out, and I thought that would never happen to me. So I go to my doctor and say, listen, I think there's something wrong, and I think we need to, check into this. And he said, I don't think anything's wrong. But anyway, I prevailed, and I went to see a doctor, and he told me the same thing. So I took a series of the tests, and he came back a week later and said, Trey, I told you there's nothing wrong with you. And I hesitated. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, nothing that's not wrong with anyone else that's been in public safety for over 40 years. And so sometimes we just, whenever we get into whether small business or the public sector, these jobs become all consuming. And, if we've got what it takes, sometimes it takes all that we've got. And so I said, are you going to give me a little pill? What are you going to do to help me get through this? He says, well, you just suffer from tension and anxiety. And my golf swing sucked, so I had to find some way to take the edge off. And that's when I got into art and then eventually the art business. But I'm telling you, I challenge anyone to come up with a more challenging, a more hostile work environment than working inside a large metropolitan jail. Our employees are literally on the front line. In fact, if I would turn the radio up in the background right now, you would hear the radio transmissions of public servants on the front lines fighting fear and uncertainty and, with a population that they are prisoners. And whenever we talk about classrooms, we say, well, I was a prisoner in that classroom. Well, this is like a hospital or a large classroom. We're trying to teach these people something. We're trying to get them through these tough times, and they don't want to be here. And this virus, this pandemic has really ratcheted things up a lot. The tension level's high, and the consequences are severe. So we have to fall back on our training to keep everybody upbeat and positive and keep them from being distracted.
No kidding. I think it's interesting that your doctor gave you the insight that you were suffering from what many people previous to you had suffered from, and there's no shame in that. You need to recognize that, and you need an outlet. Is that about right?
Well, absolutely, you do, because if not, you take it out on your customers or your employees, and we forget sometimes why we got into this business to begin with, and it's tough to recognize it on our own. We see it sometimes in our subordinates whenever they're, say, performing marginally or something, and we try to intervene and get them back on track. And sometimes we have to apply these things to ourselves as managers and leaders to get us back in the right mindset and get us back on track.
I think there's wisdom in there. Self-awareness, I hear that over and over again. Trey, thank you so much. I appreciate, first, the work that you do. I can't imagine working in that environment. Grateful for the work that you do, as well as your insights of the self-awareness and a little bit of understanding what's going on in your world. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Folks, you're listening to What's Working. We're closing down another show. We'll have another show for your Thursday. We're going to talk a little bit about this prediction of suddenly all this commercial office space coming available due to everybody working from home. That'll be an interesting conversation. Here's the number to remember, 44222. Text What's Working to 44222. I'll send you more information on cigarclub.com, as well as the 6 items that we were sent from Troy Hazard out of Fort Lauderdale earlier today. All right, have a good week, everybody. We'll be back on Thursday. Listen for us tomorrow night at 6 p.m. with, Fishing Chaos. Have a good week.